What's going on, everybody? Back again today to do another video, and I kind of feel like I'm not doing videos frequently enough. I might have to start being a bit more regular about this. Today, if you've seen one of my last videos, it was a review of the Power of Grayskull, the Masters of the Universe He-Man documentary on Netflix. And today, I want to talk about the 2000X He-Man and the Masters of the Universe reboot series. This was the cartoon animated show that came out in like 2002 in an effort to kind of like reboot and revamp He-Man and the Masters of the Universe for like the modern era. And it didn't do too well. Like it was done and over with by 2004. But after watching the documentary, I kind of wanted to get into it because I remember I was like I think maybe like 9 or 10 in 2002 when this came out, and I remembered the toy. I remember, I don't know if I saw like a TV commercial or maybe I caught an episode of the TV show, but I thought the toy, I thought it was cool for a little while, and I actually remember having He-Man and Skeletor and maybe the Battle Sound, Battle Armor He-Man from the 2000X line. I actually remember having those, and I hadn't thought of them in years till I watched the documentary. But I decided I wanted to get into Masters of the Universe, so the first thing that I checked on was maybe trying to watch the old Filmation cartoon series from the 80s. And I did. And it's just one of those things where, like, if it latched onto you when you were a kid and that's where you got your first experience with it, then you probably have some kind of like nostalgic love for it. But if you're a grown adult and you're trying to watch it for the first time, it's kind of hard to watch. It's really campy, very cheesy. There were a lot of restrictions put on the show. Like this whole universe is about this group of heroes versus this group of villains for the fate of this world. And they made very serious restrictions on this show about violence. So you've got this guy, the main character is He-Man, who looks like this barbarian warrior, and he's got a sword, and that he's always carrying around a sword. Never once was he allowed to strike another character with a sword in the old Filmation series. And like he could punch and hurt like robots or like, non-sentient creatures that just didn't matter. But when it came to like sentient beings and other characters, he wasn't allowed to hit them with the sword. He wasn't allowed to punch them. He had to just like grab them and like throw them in a pool of mud or throw them in a lake or something. That's all he was allowed to do in that show. By the time the 2002 reboot came around, they made it so that things had kind of progressed since then, and it was a little more. It was more acceptable. I think around the time that came out, like I remember Dragon Ball Z was really popular. Dragon Ball Z was nothing but violence. Like that's all that was about. So by that point in time, they were like, okay, he's this barbarian-looking character. He has a sword. Like he's gonna be fighting some people and hurting some people. It's gonna happen, and it did in the 2002 or 2000X series. So I decided to watch that one. Put away the Filmation series. I stopped trying to watch that, and I watched the 2000X series. And this is a good show, even by today's standards. Like, if you've seen any of my videos with Zach, any episodes of like the longer podcast episodes we do, I talk about how like I want story to drive the action, not action to drive the story, because I feel that when the action drives the story, you just end up with a really silly, bombastic, crazy, ridiculous plot that's just there to justify the action. It's weird for me because with Masters of the Universe, it seems like the crazy, bombastic ridiculousness has been there from the very beginning. I remember making a list one day, like a week ago, about just everything that Masters of the Universe contains, and it's got sword and sorcery, sci-fi technology. There's wizards, barbarians, there's bird people, lizard people, snake people, lion, cat people. It's just everything. They say that in the documentary. They're like, if we thought it would work and kids would like it, we somehow threw it into the universe, and yeah. So it was just crazy and ridiculous to begin with. So when I watched this show, I took the adult level of my brain, I kind of dialed it down a little bit, and just kind of tried to take the show for what it was. And for the most part, I really enjoyed it. I think it was a really strong reboot, and I'm kind of sad that it didn't take off more than it did. But I'm also kind of glad because it was because the 2002 2000X reboot failed that they ended up trying the Masters of the Universe Classics toy line, which are they're really cool. I wish I'd started collecting them much earlier, but shit. Anyway, but the show's good. The show is good. I enjoyed watching it. I watched all of it in about a week. It's all on YouTube, so you can watch it all for free. And it still has the same like charm that the original Filmation show had. At the end of every episode, one of the characters kind of like talks to the audience and like explains the moral of that day's story. But in this case, at least, all the morals fit the story for the most part. Like in the Filmation series, you'd have episodes where like at the end of the episode it'd be like, oh, remember, don't do drugs, and it had nothing to do with drugs, but they just had to put that in there. So this one made more sense, and this one also felt like they had fleshed out the universe a lot more. It seems like every time someone does He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, the story gets a little bit more refined and a little bit more fleshed out. I really liked this version of the story. All the characters were given a origin episode for the most part. And the only one of them that really bothered me was Stinkor. I couldn't believe they actually put Stinkor in here. Like, I was like, surely they should know not to put Stinkor in this show. He doesn't need to be included, but nope, he's there. They do a whole episode explaining the origin of Stinkor, and then it's not like they kill him off or defeat him and he goes away in the one episode. Nope, he's around for the rest of the show from the moment they introduce him. The second season is definitely a little more serialized. The first season is very episodic in that like every episode is an origin story for a character or a new concept, and then season 2 is where we get the Snake Men have finally escaped their banishment or whatever, imprisonment, and they're trying to take over Eternia, and then they're constantly throughout the second, you're introduced in the very first episode to the idea that this character Hordak, and you don't know much about him. And then in season 2, they really start to tease Hordak. You could tell they were planning to bring him in and bring in She-Ra in season 3, and they just never got the chance to do it. I was really upset by that because I was like, man, if they would have done Hordak, that season 3 would have been awesome. It would have been really good. The voice acting is really good. They nailed the voice actors for Skeletor. It's a nice modernization, but still pays homage to the Filmation cartoon. He-Man, they made a great choice with Cam Clark. This show's not new, so a lot of this information is probably not new to anyone, but I don't know. In case anyone's thinking about watching it, I do highly recommend it. It's a good show, and I think it's probably the best way to get into Masters of the Universe, because like I said, it will explain to you all the characters, where they come from, who they are, what their abilities are, what their relationship is to other characters. And there are some characters out there that like they give them their own episode, but it's not really an origin. Like Mechanex's episode is more, it's more about dealing with the fact that like all he can do is stretch his neck, and it's addressing that issue, because you kind of look at it like, what the hell is he good for? All he can do is just stretch his neck. Why don't they just train a giraffe really well? No, but it's fine. It's not a big deal. Those episodes I still found fun, and I like the fact that it addressed little shit like that. The stuff where it's like, the only reason Mechaneck is a character is because they were like, we could sell a toy with an extendable neck, and children will find that feature fun to, whatever. And then they put him in the show, and then in this show, his whole episode, it's not his origin story, it's them addressing the fact that there's this character who, other than the fact he can stretch his neck really long and tall, he's not special at all, and the episode addresses it. It's just good. It's a good show. I really wish that they were going to be, like, out of all the things that get rebooted these days, I wish that would be given another try. Netflix is going to be doing two He-Man things in the near future. There's going to be Kevin Smith's He-Man Revelation. It's just called Masters of the Universe Revelation. And it's supposed to be kind of like an unofficial continuation of the Filmation series. It's like they're like, we're going to do the episodes of the Filmation series that everyone wanted to see, but never got the chance. It never got made. And he's even teased that we are going to get the final battle between He-Man and Skeletor. And then they're also going to do their own series just called He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, which is just supposed to be another new iteration of it. I'm a little worried about that one. Kevin Smith has stated that the Revelation show is going to be geared towards fans of the Filmation series. But he's saying, he said, like, he's not ignoring the fact that those fans of that 80s cartoon are adults now. So he's like, the show will have aged somewhat with its audience. Whereas this other show, just flat out called He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, I'm worried it's going to be very childish. I'm worried it's going to be that crap where it's like, he's not allowed to use the sword as a weapon. He's not allowed to really hurt people. So yeah, I'm definitely going to check both of them out, but as of right now, my opinion is the 2000X cartoon for He-Man and the Masters of the Universe is the best way to get into Masters of the Universe, learn about the characters, learn about the world. So if anyone is curious about this fandom, that's my suggestion, is you watch that entire show first and go from there. But yeah, that's my take on it. It was a great show. I'm glad I watched it. I wish there was more of it. I really wish we could have seen Hordak in that show. That would have been great. But anyway, take that for what you will. Anybody else who's watched the show and has more feedback to add, leave some comments below. Or if anyone didn't like it, leave some comments below saying why you didn't like it. Please check out the Facebook page, like the video, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.